and to the ranking member. Doctor, thank you for being here and taking our questions. I appreciate the response that you've just provided to Senator Hassan about clinical trials. I am very invested in and very focused on what is happening within clinical trials for ALS. I've got a personal connection. I think so many of us do have a personal connection, and we recognize just really the horrific progression of that. And I will submit to you a pretty specific question about how we can make ALS clinical trials more efficient, looking for perhaps alternative sources to better or more precisely measure ALS progression. But it is what you have just said about leaning into this and placing a priority on it is something that I appreciate, and I'd look forward to further conversations with you on that. You've already responded to questions that I had. Senator Smith asked about rural health. That's obviously something that, coming from Alaska, we would certainly encourage greater research in rural areas that don't have care delivery sites. One of the other issues that I wanted to bring up was what Senator Murray raised with menopause research. I was able to meet with some advocates just a few weeks ago, and it's just shocking to me to know that one of the life stages in women, whether you like it or not, is menopause, and how little we actually know about the impacts and many of the treatments for adverse health conditions that are associated with menopause in particular. Let me ask my question about infectious diseases. We in Alaska are plagued and have been for a long period of time, but it continues throughout our state. We see preventable chronic infectious diseases, particularly tuberculosis and hepatitis C. As of 2021, Alaska had the highest incidence of TB in the country. Again, we have very rural areas. Hep C, the rates there have been increasing statewide now for 2 decades, despite the availability of the curative treatments. I have been in small rural airports and run into public health workers that are there just solely and specifically to monitor what we're seeing with hepatitis C. So I would ask how the NIH would approach coordinating with other federal agencies, whether it's the state, the local, the tribal governments, to do more with eradicating these chronic infectious diseases, not only tuberculosis and hep C, but the sexually transmitted infections as well, because again, this is an area where we see rates that are, in my view, beyond intolerable. So whether there are possibilities for cheap point-of-care testing for STI, talk to me a little bit about what progress we could make or what we could hope for.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Senator. I'm not an infectious disease specialist, and I was not previously aware of these unique features of the citizens of Alaska.
It's rough.
Yeah. I can comment briefly, though, and say that certainly for hepatitis C and tuberculosis and perhaps even for sexually transmitted diseases, the 2 keys to managing when it's prevalent within a population are diagnosis, detection. I mean, hepatitis C can be silent for decades, and people don't realize they have it, so they don't get the proper treatment. The same with tuberculosis. Many workplaces institute routine screening. Certainly if you work in a hospital, you get screened every single year, and it's through that screening and to identify individuals that need treatment are a really important part of control. Instituting the best approaches for that. Again, I have to defer to colleagues who are experts in infection control, but I would be very pleased, if confirmed, to work with you to address these specific issues for the people of Alaska.
Well, and we do have some great experts that are on the ground who are very familiar with this, but it's the coordination that I'm hoping that we will be able to see between federal, tribal, state, local. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.